You can't just have straight up limits, but you also can't have straight up affirmation. But what does a healthy leader look like? Not everyone is in a very open and safe work environment. So what do you do with someone like that? So, we could say, hey, Josh, these ideas are great. It's not safe in my company. If I were to do this, I would either be fired or ridiculed, or what do you do with someone like that?
Thinking about who your relationships are, what is it you think you need? So I think, tracking back to the 5 bad traits and good traits, where do you lean based on just your history and your strengths and your weaknesses? And where do you need help and affirmation to move? And then your life team can be a key giver of that, right? Maybe not the only place.
Exactly.
But yeah.
And that's where I was going with that. Sometimes there's not a safe place in your organization, but sometimes at work, we need to have a safe place. If something's really bad, especially if let's say it's your boss, who are you going to vent to and ask for containment from? This is like, who do you have in your back pocket that you can call and just say, hey, I need to vent this, so you don't blow things up at work. The solution being, okay, we have limits on this side, we have affirmation on this side as we have our team. And this is where I would say, have a coach or whoever is coaching you up, make sure the coach is done their work. So what I wrote down first is, make sure, everyone should have a coach, but also make sure you have a coach that's done their work, so they don't just have the answers. They've also walked the process. When I hear people complain about, I can't stand about my boss, the boss typically knows what he or she is doing. It's typically how they communicate.
Yeah.
And so it's more of a communication. That's kind of what we're getting into. Hey, Josh brought this to me, and just the way he didn't make eye contact, or the way he didn't understand that I had a hard day because my kid is sick at home, or you name it. And that's kind of what we're looking at with coaching, and what does that look like? What do you think most organizations struggle with?
Affirmation for sure. I think most. I mean, there's a few that are less, and it probably actually depends on the size and maturity. So I would suspect a lot of smaller organizations, it's actually limits they struggle with versus
I would agree with
large, stodgy, old organizations have lots and lots of limits built up over many, many, many years without a lot of good affirmation. So it depends a little on what your organization is.
I would agree with you on that one. I think most organizations really do struggle with affirmation. And when, here's one of those things. If you need to affirm your team, also don't just say, hey, you're doing a good job, or hey, this is great. What is good? So as we affirm people, say, you know what? The way you handled that one customer, the way you empathized with her and then was able to close the sale, that's what people are looking for. So as we affirm, don't just say good or hey, that was decent. No, dial into a specific detail about what they did, because that's going to resonate.